Good evening. Today is Monday, December 5th, 2022, and I'd like to share with you the stories of two people from the past whom I am sure you have heard of. The first is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He was a composer, born in Salzburg in 1756, and died in Vienna on this date in 1791. Arguably the greatest classical composer of all time, he was born, as I mentioned, in Salzburg, Austria. His prodigious musical talent was evident from early childhood. By the age of 6, he was performing in the royal courts of Europe, and his fame as a composer quickly followed. His compositions ranged across every genre, from masses and oratorios to symphonies and secular operas. Still, he spent much of his life in financial insecurity, depending on the fickle support of patrons in the church and various royal courts. His short life ended in poverty and protracted illness. In 1791, he worked feverishly on a requiem, convinced he was composing for his own funeral. He died before it was completed on December 5th, 1791, and was buried in a pauper's grave. Mozart is widely regarded as a great religious artist, and not only on account of his liturgical compositions. In all his work, there is a delight in creation, a balance, an affirmation of the final triumph of light and life over death and darkness. George Bernard Shaw wrote that Mozart's music is the only music that would not sound out of place in the mouth of God. Mozart himself wrote these words: "I never lie down at night without reflecting that I may not live to see another day. For this blessing I daily thank my Creator and wish with all my heart that each one of my fellow creatures could enjoy it." The second person, whom I'm sure you've heard of, is called Saint Nicholas. He was Bishop of Myra in what is now Turkey in the 4th century. He is one of the most popular of all saints. He's the patron of Russia and Greece and Scotland, and of many classes of people, from children to scholars to prostitutes. Many hundreds of churches are named after him. In England alone, at the time of the Reformation, there were more than 400 parish churches dedicated to St. Nicholas. His feast day, December 6th, is an occasion for ardent celebration in many parts of the globe. But as for his biography, it may be summarized in the simple statement that he served as Bishop of Myra, a provincial capital in Asia Minor, sometime in the 4th century. The most curious development of his cult has been the amalgamation of this 4th century bishop with the features of a Scandinavian elf. The transfiguration of St. Nicholas into Santa Claus has been traced to Dutch Protestants living in New Amsterdam. As the story made its way back to England, and the familiar features of Father Christmas gradually took shape until he had achieved iconographic status. In this role, there are at least echoes of certain ancient legends. In one story, Nicholas rescued 3 young girls whose father, for want of a dowry, was about to sell them into prostitution. Nicholas tossed 3 bags of gold through their window, enough to pay the dowry for each sister. In another story, he restored 3 little boys to life after they were murdered by an evil maniac. Well does he deserve to be remembered as the patron of children, honored not just as the purveyor of toys, but as a protector of the innocent. These words are attributed to St. Nicholas. The giver of every good and perfect gift has called upon to mimic his giving by grace through faith, and this comes not from ourselves. I wish you a very pleasant evening.